welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something pretty unusual. It's a legal document, basically a letter to a New York Supreme Court Justice, Devin P. Cohen.
Right, and it concerns a case, Freddy Daniel Moyano Candor versus QB Development Owner LLC and some others, a construction injury lawsuit.
But this isn't your standard slip and fall. The claims in this letter are, well, they're explosive. They could potentially blow the whole case apart.
That's exactly what we're digging into. The defendants, QB Development and Omnibuild Construction, they're called the moving defendants here, they made a really bold move.
How so?
They're not just defending the claim, they're asking the judge to dismiss the entire lawsuit. Just throw it out.
Wow. Dismissal. That's a really high bar in a civil suit, isn't it? What's their justification?
They're arguing there was fraudulent conduct and that this fraud goes right to the heart of the case, to the truth-finding process, as they put it.
So the idea is if the plaintiff lied about the fundamental facts, the court shouldn't even hear the case.
Essentially, yes. It's about protecting the court's integrity. They're saying the plaintiff didn't just bring weak evidence. He brought intentional deception. If the injury itself was faked, well, the argument is the whole lawsuit is poisoned from the start.
Okay. Let's back up a bit then. We need the context. What was the original story? What did the plaintiff, Freddy Candor, claim happened on July 21st, 2022?
Right. So the setting is a construction site. The job they were doing is called stripping.
Stripping?
Yeah, for anyone not in construction, it means taking down the temporary stuff used for concrete. You know, the plywood forms, the posts, everything that holds the wet cement. They were working on the first floor.
Okay. And who was Freddy working with? There were at least two others mentioned, a guy named Elvis Rivera and, crucially, the witness whose testimony changed everything, Jeiner Barboza Goicoechea. Got it. And the specific task when the supposed accident happened.
It was pretty demanding physical labor. They were moving these heavy metal posts. The document says about 8 to 10 feet long, maybe 100, 125 pounds each.
That's hefty.
Definitely. They were moving them about 5 meters, just piling them up. Barboza, the witness, said he was walking behind Freddy. Freddy was heading towards another coworker, Richard.
And the accident, the initial version.
The claim was that Freddy slipped. Slipped on some water, maybe from a bucket, maybe rain. Unclear. And he hit his knee. Seems straightforward enough on the surface.
Right. Sounds like a fairly typical, unfortunate workplace incident. But now the defense is saying, nope, not an accident. And this is all thanks to Barboza's testimony.
Exactly. This is where it gets really interesting. Barboza's deposition testimony. It's basically a bombshell.
What did he say? What did he reveal about Freddy's intentions?
He stated under oath that he believed the whole thing was planned and intentional, completely staged.
Planned? How far back?
According to Barboza, the planning started 2 days before the incident.
2 days before. Wow. That suggests premeditation. Did Barboza say how he got involved or how Freddy tried to involve him? He did. He claimed Freddy actually approached him, talked about faking an accident. And here's the kicker. Freddy allegedly offered Barboza money.
Money? To do what?
Between $2,000 and $3,000. The offer was to help Freddy fix the accident. Basically, to lie and back up the fake story.
2 or 3 grand. I mean, it's something, but for that kind of fraud in a potentially huge lawsuit, it feels small. Does that point to how badly Freddy needed money?
That seems to be the picture Barboza painted. He testified about Freddy's motive. Freddy apparently said he was from Ecuador, had this very big debt to a bank back home.
Financial pressure.
Exactly. Huge pressure. The interest was coming down on him, as Barboza quoted him. Freddy apparently said his construction wages just couldn't cover it. The lawsuit wasn't just for extra cash, it was allegedly a survival plan.
So, desperation. Not just greed, but real financial distress driving this alleged fraud. Did Freddy mention specifics about the injury itself, like how he planned to make it look real? Yes, and this detail really points towards planning. Freddy supposedly told Barboza he already had an injury.
A pre-existing condition, yeah. From playing soccer, or maybe a motorcycle falling on him, the story was a bit unclear, but the alleged plan was specific. Make sure that heavy metal post hit that exact same knee. Clever. Or, devious. Makes any subsequent medical exam seem consistent with a new, severe injury.
Precisely. It makes the whole thing look more plausible medically.
And there was something else in the documents, right, about maybe involving family.
That's right. Barboza said he thought Freddy had already planned, previously, to stage something like this, possibly with a relative, a brother, cousin, brother-in-law.
Any names?
Well, the defense points out that the name Christian Candor pops up elsewhere in their legal filings, and they argue this connection, quote, cannot simply be a coincidence. Suggests a broader scheme, perhaps.
Okay, so let's put ourselves in Barboza's shoes for a moment. He knows about the alleged debt, the pre-existing injury, the offer of a bribe. Now he's watching the actual incident happen. What did he see that made him believe it was faked?
He described the moment they were handing off that heavy post to the other worker, Richard. Barboza said Freddy, quote, "Let the post go." Like, to be more clear, he intentionally did it.
He just dropped it.
Oh.
Or let it swing.
The testimony implies Freddy deliberately manipulated the post so it would strike his knee. Released his grip, maybe shifted weight, something to make it hit the target.
And Freddy's reaction afterwards? Did it seem genuine?
Barboza's account suggests it was more like acting. He said Freddy immediately started rolling around, didn't want anyone to touch him, kept saying, "Don't touch me," until the ambulance came. That he wanted an ambulance.
And the ambulance did come.
Yeah, about 20 or 30 minutes later, Barboza summed it up pretty bluntly in his deposition. He said, "I would imagine he had it planned for the accident to occur, then for the ambulance come. I would imagine that that was the plan with these gentlemen he had planned it with."
That's incredibly damaging testimony for the plaintiff, obviously. An eyewitness saying, "I saw him plan it, I saw him do it intentionally." But, and this is a huge but, isn't it? We have to talk about the witness himself. How reliable is Barboza?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And this is where the case gets even stranger, frankly. The defense is pinning everything on this guy. But his own actions on that same day are, well, they're problematic.
Problematic how? What does the source material say Barboza himself did on July 21st?
Jeiner Barboza Goicoechea, the man accusing Freddy of faking an injury, claimed he also got injured on the very same day.
Wait, what? Seriously?
Seriously. About 10 minutes after Freddy's incident, Barboza claimed a piece of lumber, a 2x4, fell on his right foot.
No way. So did he also file a lawsuit?
He did. Just like Freddy, Barboza started his own labor law case based on his alleged injury from that day.
Okay, hold on. This sounds completely wild. The star witness accusing the plaintiff of fraud was apparently running his own potential fraud on the same day. How can the defense possibly use him?
It's an incredible situation. But there's another twist. Barboza dropped his lawsuit.
He dropped it. Why?
That's what he was asked during his deposition. And his explanation is basically the pillar supporting the defense's argument for his credibility now.
So what was his reason? Did he admit his own claim was bogus?
He essentially did, yeah. He said he got influenced by some bad friends and saw some videos of my friends maybe suggesting others faking things. It's a bit vague. But the key factor, he claimed, was his wife.
His wife?
Yeah, he said she has a lot of faith in God and told him what he was doing was not right. She apparently said they should work and make money, but the right way. A moral intervention, basically. So, facing cross-examination, did the lawyer just ask him straight up, "Was your accident fake?" Pretty much. The transcript quotes the question. "Did you fake your accident? What was wrong?"
And Barboza's answer.
Direct admission. He said, "Yeah. And I guess I let myself get influenced by that."
Wow. Okay, so the defense strategy is breathtaking in a way. They're saying, yes, our key witness is an admitted fraudster himself.
Right. But his very admission of his own fraud, spurred by this supposed immoral awakening, makes him uniquely believable when he points the finger at the plaintiff's fraud.
It puts the judge in a really tough spot, doesn't it? You have to decide if this guy's confession about his own lie makes him more or less credible about someone else's alleged lie.
Exactly. It hinges entirely on whether the judge buys the story of his change of heart. Was it genuine remorse? Or just a convenient way to explain away his own problematic claim under pressure?
The defense isn't saying he's a saint. They're saying he's an insider who turned whistleblower, effectively.
Precisely. He's uniquely positioned, they argue, to expose the conspiracy, because he was, for a time, part of a conspiracy, even if it was his own parallel one. For the court to grant dismissal, they need to find his testimony about Freddy's planning not just plausible, but clear, convincing, and compelling, despite his own baggage.
So let's try and wrap our heads around this for the listener. We started with what looked like a standard construction injury claim. Now we've got the defendants asking a judge to kill the case entirely.
Based on testimony about a pre-planned staged injury, complete with a bribe attempt.
And the star witness providing this testimony is a guy who admits he faked his own accident 10 minutes later on the same day, only dropping his case later because his wife talked him out of it.
It really highlights the intense drama that can unfold in what the courts call the truth-finding process, doesn't it? The judge has to weigh credibility in a situation with so many layers of potential deception.
It also shows you the sheer power of a deposition. This hidden backstory completely transforms the case from one about negligence to one about alleged criminal fraud.
Absolutely. Without Barboza's deposition, none of this likely comes to light in the same way.
And that connection back to Freddy's alleged motive, the debt. Barboza was explicit about that, right? The very big debts, the interest piling up.
Yes, that was presented as the core reason, the desperate financial situation fueling the alleged plan. It grounds the alleged fraud in a very real, very human pressure point.
Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. If we take Barboza's testimony at face value for a moment, that Freddy Candor's alleged scheme was driven by crippling debt he couldn't escape.
It raises a pretty uncomfortable question, doesn't it? In our legal system, where potential payouts for injuries can be very high.
How many other claims, maybe claims that seem questionable but proceed anyway, might be fueled not by actual negligence on the job site, but by the sheer, overwhelming weight of personal financial desperation?